Good evening. It is Saturday, February 7th at 9:18 p.m. Hope you're doing well. Sorry for the delay on getting to you guys. Hung out with my son and my nephew a little bit after the game up in at campus in God's country. Was fortunate enough to be in Mackey for this game. So, unfortunately, Purdue played pretty ugly brand of basketball, if we're just going to be real honest. And I'll talk all about my thoughts on what I saw, the good, the bad, all that stuff. But what do you do? What do you do when Purdue's maybe not played up to snuff and you're at Mackey Arena? What do you do? The game's over. You're like, I don't have much of a great taste in my mouth. But you know where you can go get a great taste in your mouth? Head towards the fire station. Turn left, head into AJ's. And when you do that, you're going to find, like I always say, these are the friendliest people on campus. They're working there, and they're bringing good stuff to you. Burgers, beef, a pint on game day with a boiled sports magnet. TVs on the wall to watch games after the game. Watch maybe a little bit higher quality basketball, for being real honest. But burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. EatAJ's.com. AJ's by the fire station. Also, if you haven't been to Home Field Apparel in a while, you should go there. And I'll tell you why I know this, because I hadn't been in a while. And I went over to Home Field Apparel. And they've got some new, cool retro stuff. They had a bunch of mid-season basketball releases. One thing that got my attention, because I'm a kid that attended Purdue basketball camp back in the 80s, back when it was Katie's camp, they have some Purdue basketball camp T-shirts there that they predate when I was at the camp, but it might scratch that nostalgia itch for you. Head over to homefieldapparel.com. Look at that stuff. They got the shooting shirt that has my eye. They've got the knit block P sweater. Pick something out, put it in the cart, treat yourself right. Homefieldapparel.com. All right, so Purdue is now, after beating Oregon barely, they're 19-4. They won 68-64. And I know Jay always likes to say every victory is beautiful. That was not a beautiful victory. And the reason it's not beautiful is not because there was sloppy play at times, not because there was poor communication on defense at times, and Purdue didn't look cohesive. But this team is playing pretty far under their potential. There's something that I say it to my son. I've been saying it to my son and daughter for a long time. One of the most frustrating parts of life is unrealized potential. And Purdue is not that. This Purdue team has shown what they can do. They've shown that they can be great at times. But with the exception of that Maryland game where they just, blew the doors off Maryland, this team has looked a lot like this, where you've watched a team that struggles to understand how to handle a screen on defense, that has major lapses at times. Right before the end of the first half, they had a very ugly lapse where possession after possession for Oregon, Purdue had an 8-point lead cut down to 6 points. But one of the most egregious ones was, I think, the last possession where Purdue did a good job defending for about 20 seconds, and then Oregon makes one pass, and there's nobody there. Oregon gets a layup, either a layup or a dunk. Can't remember. The whole point is that type of thing happened over and over, and is happening over and over. For a team with this many seniors, with this much experience, it's a tough pill to swallow. So don't think you're alone if you are one of the Boiler fans that says, I don't know if I like what's happening. There's no joke about that. Now, the next part. So if you're frustrated, you're not alone, right? I think I'm there with you. But, man, I wish there was a way that we could all, myself included, keep our wits a little bit better during this part of the season. The problem that I have right now is I'm looking at this team through the lens of what I've seen from this team and from the lens of what I know. And when I watched the effort today versus Oregon, I know Oregon is a better team with Bittle. They're clearly better team with Bittle. But at the same time, if you go back and you look at this, they're on a major losing streak right now. And Bittle was there in the beginning of the losing streak. So they'd already, I think he had high point total, 30-something points versus Rutgers, and they lost that game. They got the brakes beaten off them by Rutgers, 20-point loss. So Bittle's good, but that's not a good Oregon team. They've had injuries on and off the whole season. They've dealt with some adversity. I think they've got a very capable coaching staff. I think that roster is much better than this record. Maybe they're completely healthy for the first time, and we're seeing it. But what I saw today is a Purdue team that did what they've been doing during this, not during the, it's not a streak anymore, right? They've won 2 straight. But during that three-game losing streak, you saw a team that just refuses to keep momentum. They'll get up by 6 points. They'll get up by 8. And then they'll shoot themselves in the foot. And it could be a number of things. One big thing today, for instance, you saw how many guys missing 3-point shots, right? Wide open 3-point shots. My whole thing is I always say Purdue defensively takes some risks and looks to analytics. Painter specifically looks at analytics and says, some guys are going to be left open. We're playing the odds here because this guy's not a very good shooter, right? And so C.J. Cox was left open a lot, and so was Jakari Harris, and both of them missed a lot of shots that would have changed the trajectory of the game. I'm not putting the loss at their feet, because then there are other guys, Clough and TKR, for instance, who, and I'm going to go through, there's a litany of airing of grievances, to quote, what's the name? Jerry Stiller, right? That's his name. Missing layups, missing shots inside 5 feet. That's tough. That's tough, especially when you're looking at a guy who's as skilled as TKR, right? I think he's one of the best technicians Purdue's had at power forward ever. Like, offensively, he's a technician. He's precise. And yet, we saw a lot of balls going in and out of the hoop, right? Like, couldn't get it done. On top of that, so the third level, offensively, you have Braden Smith, who there's no debate. He's the best point guard Purdue's ever had. And yet, during this swoon, where Purdue has not been playing well, Braden Smith has regressed and made some of the old mistakes from time to time. And he did tonight down the stretch, where he would leave his feet, not know where he's going with the ball, and kind of get swamped by the defense and end up turning it over. It's not a huge deal, but like Painter said, when you turn the ball over too many times, this team doesn't have that type of margin of error. The system's not built that way. Purdue turned the ball over 14 times. Paint said they really have a max of about 8 turnovers that they want to see. Sadly, turning the ball over is something we've gotten pretty used to seeing, right? If you saw one of the funniest things that I've seen, because I watched some press conference, I watched some post-game stuff when I got home. One of the funniest things I saw was Robbie Hummel interviewing Matt Painter and Fletch lawyer. And Hummel is laughing because he can tell Fletch is fuming. Remember, this is minutes after Fletch hit the game winner. But he asked him a question. Fletch is he answers questions like coach, but he answers them like an angry coach. Today, he was especially angry, and he wouldn't break his, and Hummel said, it's okay to smile. It's okay, you won the game. But at the same time, Fletch wasn't having any of it. He wasn't taking that bait. Fletch wasn't happy. This is what I said before. I said to you guys that I've been critical of Fletch lawyer at times. Some of you have taken literal offense to me being critical of Fletch lawyer and his inability to make shots when he's open. He's a really good shooter. I also said he would come back and he would show you what he's made of. He's done that. But at the same time, I don't know if there's going to be anybody more critical of Fletch lawyer than Fletch lawyer because of what we've seen in these post-game interviews. They make me laugh every damn time. I think it's hilarious. I think this is what this team needs. So Purdue has a bit of a problem, though, a dichotomy, if you will. Okay, you've got the seriousness of Fletch lawyer after a win, not being able to enjoy himself. So on one hand, you want accountability, especially out of seniors. You really want them to be accountable for poor play, mistakes, whatever. Okay. But on the other hand, you want to see a team that's enjoying themselves too, right? PJ Thompson said this on the Braden Smith podcast this week. That was very good watching for me. I actually saw PJ leaving Mackey today, and I told him, said, hey, coach, heard the podcast. I enjoyed it. I liked hearing it. And if you didn't watch that, I would suggest you watch that. there's a lot of things you can take away from that. There's a lot you can take away. So that's why I'd say it's a good watch. But he said something about, I think he was the one who said it. Sometimes you just need to go back and find your joy. Meaning, go back and find when you're making shots. Go watch video, go watch film when you're making shots and when you're smiling during the game. And I said this before. I said this versus IU. Purdue looks like a team that's going to a job they don't like. That body language was happening again today. And they end up winning. They end up, and I called it salvaged in the thumbnail. They salvaged, they pulled one off the scrap heap because that was a game that was absolutely trending towards a loss. Well, how'd they do it? Let's look at the stats together. Okay, like I said, Purdue wins 68-64. They improved to 19-4 in the season. That's all good stuff. Oregon's not good. Their record says they're 1-11 in the Big Ten, and guess what? They play like a team that's 1-11 in the Big Ten. Bittle's a tough guy to guard, and Oregon and Altman did some smart things. They pulled Bittle out to the top of the key, put Clough in a really bad position because he had to make the decision, was he going to go out there and respect Bittle? And you have to, because he can hit. He can hit three-pointers. I think on his career, he's like 35% three-point shooter. Pretty solid. And his career is about 1,000 years long, just like Clough's. But so he'd pop out to the three-point line. Now you've got Clough in the position where he really doesn't want to be, and Painter doesn't want to be either. He's drawn away from the basket, can't rebound now, right? So Clough was kind of deemed, I don't know how you'd want to say it, but they really put Purdue in a tough position. This matchup and the way he used Bittle hurt Clough a lot. Jacobson looked good, though, when he was in there playing the 5 role, and even TKR at the 5 looked pretty good at times, too. But the leading scorer was Fletch again, 18 points. He was 3 for 4 from deep, 4 for 7. And compare and contrast, Lawyer's 3 for 4 from deep, and as a team, Purdue is 5 of 18 from deep. Is it that simple that if Purdue gets up to 40% as a team or 38%, 35% as a team, the game's different? I think it is. And I think the big thing is not that Purdue's missing threes. They're missing open threes. Painter had a great quote, in my opinion. This is like the best summation of the whole game. He said, we did a lot of good things, and we didn't reward ourselves. So what he's saying is we put ourselves in position to score. We put ourselves in the position to succeed, and then we didn't do anything about it. For instance, there were times where Purdue would get a steal. Braden Smith had a great hustle play early in the first half. And I thought Purdue's effort, honestly, in person, looked pretty good. The effort level. You had a lot of guys, Braden Smith leading by example, diving for balls, doing everything he could, sacrificing his body. And he did on that play. I think he ended up in the stands. But he makes the steal, and then I don't think Purdue comes away with anything. And they should have come away with an easy, fast break bucket because the way the turnover happened quickly, happened around midcourt. One thing I notice in person about this team right now is how many times have we seen Braden Smith leading a fast break and then having to wait for anybody to catch up with him. Not for the entire team, but anybody. There's nobody coming with him, right? So then Purdue has to slow down, back it out, give the defense a chance to set up, and then Purdue runs their offense. It's just, that's the hardest thing for me to watch this year, is that there is no fast break offense. None. And it's almost like a mentality with this team. They're not looking to run. They're not looking to get out there, get ahead of the defense and not let them set up. It's almost like, okay, yeah, we'll just go toe-to-toe with you every single time, even when you have an inherent advantage. That's tough. Okay, so Fletch 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He had a couple turnovers. Braden Smith, really, really good first half, I thought. Second half, I think he would say, that's not my best basketball. He had quite a few of his turnovers. He had 6 turnovers overall in the game. I think I would bet, I don't have this in front of me, I bet 3 of his 6 turnovers were in the last 10 minutes of the game. That's one of the things I think as Purdue fans, that it's tough to put your finger on exactly what frustrates you most. But watching the seniors, this senior class, not put games away is really, really tough. This wasn't that game, by the way. The time to put this one away was minutes before, and Purdue had squandered the game. They had given it away. I don't think Purdue had the lead since like the 4-minute mark in the first half, and they kept that lead well into the second half, and then they gave it up, and you're like, oh, man, that we're in it again. This is going to be a tough situation. But when Fletch hit that three, the clutch three, to really put Purdue up, and they never relinquished the lead again. It's one of the most explosive moments I've had in Mackey. I've been around in Mackey Arena, and I've been a Purdue fan my whole life. But if you were there, you could probably attest to it. It's not so much that you've never heard Purdue or Mackey that loud before. I've heard it that loud, but the way it erupted, it was almost like a release of pressure because you have a team that's shooting the three ball so poorly, and when Oregon's defender, I don't know if he tripped, what happened. If you watch that tape, it's a weird play, but he falls down. It gives Lawyer a good look, and he capitalizes. Plain and simple. Lawyer can shoot the ball still. But that was a great moment to be part of it in Mackey. I mean, that's the thing. There's some things, everybody knows that. There's something special about being in a game in person, but the eruption was incredible. It was visceral. Fun to be around. Trey Kaufman-Renn, 12 points. He added 8 boards and 4 assists. Braden Smith, though, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's officially way off his pace these last 2 games. And I know some of you are very sick of hearing about Smith's assist numbers, and I get that. But at the same time, I would like to see him break as many records, move up the charts as far as he can, and it looks to me that might be slipping away. Here, something I didn't mention, I need to mention this. The starting point guard when I was at Purdue was a guy named Porter Roberts. I'm 50 years old. Porter Roberts, 51 years old, died of cancer earlier this week. They honored him before the game. And that stuff, it's just, man, it rips your guts out a little bit. Jay had a friend close to his family pass away this week. Also cancer. So my thoughts, my prayers, is not just a line, goes out to the families that are struggling with this. It's heartbreaking. And Porter, I think, had 4 kids. His dad. His dad passed away 2 years ago. If you don't know this, Porter Roberts was the 4th. There's a 5th. His son is Porter Roberts the 5th. But his dad, Porter Roberts the 3rd, passed away almost 2 years ago to the day. So tough couple years for that family. Hate to see that. Another thing Painter talked about in this game, and I'm going to get back to the stats here for a second, but was the key to the game was 7 straight defensive stops to end the game. And it's absolutely, that's unequivocally a key to this game because Oregon had the lead to start that stretch. And Fletch's big 3 was in there, but stopping them was big. Something Purdue could not do early in the first half. They could not stop Bittle for 2 straight possessions, let alone stop Oregon's offense. So it's a good win. I don't mean to diminish the fact that it's a good win. It just doesn't feel very good. And there's so much this team can do to get better and get back into rhythm. But one of the biggest things, like I said, I'd love to see this team have fun and freaking get into a rhythm and laugh a little bit as they're doing it. But the big thing is if you watch them on the dead balls, guys are yelling at each other because there's so many defensive breakdowns when an opponent throws multiple screens at them. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what the other guy's doing. That's the hardest thing. And this is really bizarre basketball for a Painter team. To say this many guys who are upperclassmen don't understand how to handle screens, it's damning. And Purdue's got, in 3 days, they go to Nebraska. And then they go to Iowa right after. And then I think they've got Michigan State. This is the murderer's row of the season, these next 4 or 5 games. And Purdue is playing some pretty bad basketball still, in spite of 2 straight wins. So Daniel Jacobson off the bench. He had 20 minutes of play, had 9 points, and he was very effective. 4 boards. I've said this before. I love Daniel Jacobson. I think his upside is incredible. I think his potential is incredible. And I think if you read NBA draft boards, I don't know if he's going to be playing college basketball much longer. And that's something that's wild because we're like, okay, man, he's going to be great next year. Well, we may not get to see him next year. He may be on an NBA roster. He's that good. His feet and his hands are that good, according to scouts and people that know the NBA. And his potential is off the charts. The fact that he can pop out and shoot a 3, and he's got that size, and he's got the soft hands. If you put it anywhere near the rim, Fletch Lawyer threw an alley-oop to him. It just needs to be in the right area code, right? He goes and gets it and makes things happen. Omer Meyer off the bench had 14 solid minutes, 4 points, 2 boards, an assist. He looks lost at time on defense. He's one of the guys that Fletch got after a couple times for being out of position, but he had a steal, right? Jack Benner only had 5 points and a rebound, but Jack Benner absolutely put his thumbprint on the game in the form of doing difficult stuff. He drew another charge. I think he had a board and he had a bucket all in like a very, very short span of in the game. Benner is a guy that Purdue is just going to love. Purdue fans are just going, if you don't love him already, you haven't been paying attention, but we're going to love Jack Benner. By the way, somebody asked me what bourbon I drink. This is a Woodford, today's bourbon is a Woodford barrel strength. So it's a heavy hitter. It's good though. So Purdue shot the free throw well, 76%. Like I said, their turnovers were a problem, 14 turnovers. The funny thing is the things Purdue did poorly, Oregon did poorly as well. Generally, Purdue shot the three poorly, Oregon shot the three poorly. Purdue turned over the ball too much, Oregon turned over the ball too much. Purdue did a good job sharing, 15 assists. The big differentiator, I would say, is Bittle played so well. And for a half, Bittle absolutely, maybe 30 minutes, Bittle was the best player on the court, no question, in spite of that hairline, which I can give him a hard time about his hairline because you're heading my way, brother. You're going to be here soon. Bad news, and you're a young man. All right, so next up, like I said, in Lincoln at Nebraska. Thank you for being here in spite of me being late. I do appreciate it, and I'm glad we have a conversation tonight. Adam P. says, good evening. Same to you. ZL Spilla says, howdy. Same to you. I wish I knew. I wish I could. I've tried to figure out some of the names, but Kevin PhD says, good evening, down. Same to you. Chris Harder says, a win is a win, I guess. Yeah, I ran into a Boiled Sports watcher, listener, on the way to go and see my son after the game. He said, don't be too hard on the boys tonight. And that's a funny comment out of context, right? You guys know I come here and talk about Purdue basketball. But it was funny because I think he thought that I was going to be rough on him. And depending upon the ears that are hearing it, I think some of you might say I was pretty hard on them. They won, and I still was critical. Yes, because I think they're a better team than how they played. Can't make everybody happy. Chris, a win is a win, right on. Doc Kevin says, save the blowout wins for the tournament, I guess. Yeah, sure. If we can stockpile them, that's great. I hope we can. I don't think we can. Adam P. says, I wasn't present, but was curious if there was any recognition or memorial of passing to Roberts. Yeah, I said that earlier. They had a moment of silence for him, and they told us that he had passed from cancer. I hadn't heard that. I did some research, tried to read an obituary and try to figure it out. He's a great player. Really solid point guard. Not much of a scorer. Porter wasn't much of a scorer, but he facilitated Glenn Robinson, which is pretty good. And he was on a team with a bunch of really great role players. And he won. He was one of the players on the 3 Big Ten championship teams. Porter Roberts, though, the other thing you might not know if you're not my age or if you weren't on campus or you didn't watch Porter live, because the YouTube videos are a little bit grainy of the Boiler teams in the middle 90s. Porter Roberts had magnificent triceps. The dude was an absolute beast. He did not skip, I would say, any leg or upper body day. But I had a class right after Porter, and it was second semester class. So I was in the same room, okay? And so I saw Porter regularly. He went to class, which is great. But the dude never wore sleeves. I can tell you, he never wore sleeves that year. That winter was cold, and he did not wear sleeves, and nor would I if I had triceps like that dude. So sad for his family, like I said, though, and joking about him is a good thing. So MSP 138 says Fletch saved them down the stretch, no doubt. Dagger 3, free throws, and a critical rebound. Yeah, his rebound deserves more credit. It stopped. The one you're talking about was improved on defense, right? Very, very good defense. Or very good rebound. Very tough. Some bad body language again from certain players. Yes, I agree with that. There is bad body language. There is, as they say, bad juju. Here's the thing. Everything's salvageable for this team other than a Big Ten championship. I think that's such a long shot right now. But you're seeing teams fall regularly now that are in the top 5. Duke lost to North Carolina. They lost a game they had no business losing. And it was the other one. Another top 3 team lost this week. Can't remember who it was. Teams lose. It happens. It's a long season. But Michigan looks awfully good. Nebraska looks really, really good. Illinois looks great. They're in a dogfight with Michigan State right now, 57-56. Both those teams look good, Illinois and Michigan State. I think Purdue would behoove themselves to not worry about the Big Ten race and just try to get their shit together internally. I know they had a team meeting before Maryland, but things are not cured. And I think Paint knows it, and I think everybody who watches this team and has watched them this season know that they are not fixed. They've got a long way to go. The one thing that just communication on defense, though. I can't tell you how important I think that is right now for this team. So, Kruderschmidt says, Boiler up, Oregon got a 17-point per game, 24-25, all Big Ten defensive team back today. Are you talking about Bittle? This is not a one-win Oregon team that came into play, and I'll call my shot. They will have a major upset soon. I think that's fair to say. And when you have a guy that's that good, you can win. But what I'm telling you is, the beginning of this losing streak in conference, he was at that Rutgers game, and I think he played for 2 of these games in the beginning of their losing streak. I was trying to dig at that because everybody talked about how important it is that he's back, and they are a different team with him back. Also, don't forget, this is a team it's a payroll that's well funded. They've got a guy on their team who played professional ball in China, and they have other guys that are legit talented. They have good length, very good length, really solid athleticism. But they're not a great team though. They're not a great shooting team either, and I think that's shown during their Big Ten schedule. But yeah, they are capable of an upset, no doubt. Nate Dolan says, thoughts on playing more small ball with only one big. I have no clue what's wrong with this team. No fire compared to earlier in the season. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with this team going small ball. The thing that I have a problem with is when they go small, they don't get faster. Like, that's the thing. I watch every game. I'm befuddled. Why, when you get a breakout, there's no secondary break. Another guy sprinting up the middle of the court. It just seems to me like it's almost like they've been deprogrammed to turn and go, right? I've coached basketball. I've coached high school basketball, and I would always just program teams. When we get a rebound, we go, and everybody goes hard, right? There's no need to lag back. Everybody goes. This Purdue team is the opposite of that. Smith gets out and goes, and then he's waiting. When Purdue goes smaller lineup, it's not like when they take Clough out, they don't, they're not a faster team. They're not very fast. And we've talked about this all the time. The athleticism, they're not as athletic as Oregon. That's for darn sure. But there's a mentality here, more than that. More than athleticism, there's a mentality. And some of that's got to get corrected. M3 Adjuster, how are you? Says, I had a feeling this game would be a struggle. The Boilers definitely haven't been killer lights out at home. No, they haven't. Need better defense. Credit for Lawyer for the big shot, big rebound, free throw to close out. Yeah, he missed one free throw too, didn't he, down that stretch? I think he did, and that bothered me. That's wrong that I think about that first, but I do think about it. But he was huge. He was absolutely huge down the stretch, no doubt about it. The funny thing about that thing you mentioned about Mackey Arena and this team not being able to be killer at home, it all comes down to what they're doing to themselves. Because, the paint crew is as strong as it's ever been. They're very loud. I was sitting next to a woman today who, her daughter is a sophomore in engineering at Purdue. She went to a small school up near Chicago. Her daughter she said, she's living my dream in that she is in a big student section having a great time. And she said, there she is down there. And she pointed her out to me. We were looking down on her literally. But the paint crew and guys and girls like her daughter and my son, then their A game is there every game. The funny thing is, the old people, us, and I'll say I'm in that group, we don't do enough. But when you get everybody involved there, that place is still crazy. And it doesn't feel like you can will them across the finish line right now. It doesn't feel like you can will them into a streak where they just tear the roof off the arena, and that feels weird. That all comes down to just not being an opportunistic team right now. So Sean Hageman says Rensselaer Central High School girls team has more grit. Just saying. I don't know much about them, so I'm not going to speak on it. Go Lady Bombers, sectional champ. There's a lot of teams, girls, guys, whatever, that are pretty damn gritty. So I don't think we need to cross-compare with sports and sexes and whatever. This team is not gritty right now, though. It's true. So Darren Stiegel, let's go with that. Says, Purdue sucks so bad. Next 3 games are losses. This is awesome. Love the title. Fletch saves the day. Spent the entire game missing shots, turning it over. Yeah. Great. Productive comment. Thanks for being here. You're awesome, Darren. Get the hell out of here. D mid Kiff, whatever. I don't say that this team is soft, but they definitely have a habit of playing soft. They're not soft, but they are not playing great basketball right now. No doubt about that. Matt Keller says, looks like they looked past this team and didn't really play until the last 4 minutes. I don't think that's true. I think they beat Nebraska. Awesome. I might be the only one who says that win is a win. The reason I don't think that's true is the effort was high in the first half. And at the same time, they were not doing the little things. Paint had another telling thing in the postgame was great. He said, we don't get mad at guys for missing shots, get mad at guys for not taking open shots. And I can tell you that's one thing I saw early in the second half. These guys were not looking to take shots. It felt to me in the first half, in fact, they were making extra passes, like not making the extra pass to get open, but a guy was open for a shot and he'd pass out of it. And that's bothersome to me. Right on. Let's see. Need to be Inverse says, do you think Paul Lusk is the right person to handle the defense? Seems like it's been Purdue's issue for quite a few years. I can't tell I think you should. Let's go. I think you should put it at the feet of the coaches because these guys get paid a lot of money to get these guys coordinated. And whether it's Painter or Lusk or both, I think it's okay to be critical of the coaching because this team is not cohesive defensively. They are not. Defense creates offense. But then again, like I said, when this team gets steals, the fast breaks are non-existent. So that's tough. Kyle Thomas says, TKR and Clough together isn't the answer. Got to pick one or the other on the court. They're certainly not flowing well together. The offense doesn't look great when they're both on there. No doubt about it. MSP says, MSP 138 says, something you said in another video that rings true. I don't care about counting assists anymore. Yeah. The big thing, that it was a lot of fun when Purdue was winning at a high clip to pick a subtopic. You're like, okay, let's watch this. The main topic is broken right now, right? The way they're playing is broken. The way they are defending is broken. The offensive rhythm is broken, and the results are showing it. The exception of that Maryland game, that was awful for Maryland that this team could beat them that bad. John Odom says, Coach Painter usually goes with an 8-man rotation in March. It'll be interesting to see what player loses their minutes. He does typically. There's a lot of things happening right now that I think he's waiting for a couple things to happen that aren't happening. And it's tough to watch. And you can tell he does this thing with the rotations. I think the rotations today were odd. As Purdue was struggling on defense, and specifically Omer Meyer was having a little problem, you didn't see Cox brought in. And I think there's a reason behind that. I think that one is actually very, very, I think that's intentional. I think the whole thing was he's trying to give Meyer his minutes to say, okay, let's see if he can do some things because Cox wasn't knocking down shots. And let's give Meyer some minutes, see if he can flip a switch that they haven't had. That's a fair idea. And you think, can we ride out some poor defense versus this team? We should be able to. And it was playing with fire. Oregon almost got done. So Tom Clark says, R.I.P. Porter Roberts, big fan. Yeah, he's sucks. Let's see. I'm getting down here. Tom Clark says, opposing coaches have found out that when Braden drives, he's looking to pass. They're anticipating his passes. I think Braden's always been a pass-first point guard. But I think Braden is he's just not making best decisions a lot of times late in the game. That's tough medicine. It's tough medicine. So I think you can fix that. But Watcher of the West says, love Benner. Can't wait for the selfish error of lawyers for the this team, I think your point, like I mumbled through his message, but he paints with a pretty broad brush. This team is not the strongest defensive team, and it really never has been, right? And there have been some guys that have buoyed them at times, and right now they're not being buoyed. So it's not good. Marshall Briggs says, is it possible the team's issues are rooted in all the attention and media Braden gets, or a change in attitude? Seems like the issues started when he got the assist record. Just a thought. Thanks, Dowd. Yeah, I addressed that Wisconsin game when he got it. He admitted to that second half he didn't play his most focused basketball. But I think there's a bigger issue here. To me, there's a bigger issue where the players reflect what their leadership does, and not just the coaches, but the players. There's 3 seniors. They're just as important as the coach in setting a tone. And I don't think those guys are a cohesive unit right now at all. At all. I don't think they're getting along all that great. I think they're trying to. I think they're trying to will it back into rhythm, but it's not happening. And stuff like that has to be organic. These guys have played together a long time. The bad thing is, as the old people in the room, us, I say us, if you're in my my age group or older, you know that this season's a blink of an eye from being over. And so I don't think these guys get that. The ending comes quick. So Tom Clark says, Braden freelancing on defense is consistently leading to wide open threes. Yeah, I don't know if that's the main thing I'd focus on. It isn't, actually. T-Bone says, were they overrated preseason but haven't played up? I know I ate the national championship dog food. Yeah, so I don't think they were overrated. And the reason I don't think they're overrated is the roster is strong, and they showed that they're really, really good when they're playing good basketball. But they are not playing that basketball right now, that brand. There's no doubt. If you look at how they played in the first, 10 games of the season, this is Painter teams come into the season dialed in, right? So then the next part, you have to say, the team has to say, okay, we're going to take it to the next level, right? Because the coaches have done their job at that point, prepping the team, getting them ready. It's happened year after year. So in the offseason, Painter gets these guys all buying in, all facing the same direction. But this is a more broken rudder team than we've seen in a couple of years, especially for as talented as they are. And I think that's the thing that's most bothersome. It's really tough to see the version of that team that was so good in the Baha Mar tournament. It's tough to see them right now, right? And I think a lot of Purdue fans are coming to grips with that. Like I said, it's salvageable in some ways, but some things are going to be really, really tough to get back. Wiggle Room says, he's talking to somebody else. Harvest Herald says, Fletch should have had more attempts, really carried us. Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me more than anything. Because here's what teams are trying to do. I know a lot of the anti-Fletch crowd out there sees Fletch as he should have been benched. He's not that good of a player, whatever. Okay. Teams prepare for him, and a lot of teams try to take him away. Try to do everything they can to take him away. We're not going to give him open looks, right? That's why other guys get open looks. And that's when you have to make them pay. Cox, Harris, have to make them pay. Have to. Smith, if you get an open three, wide open, you got to knock it down. Big boy college basketball, right? You're one of the best teams in America. You're supposed to be. So when they take away your dead eye shooter, you got to hit it. And this team's not doing it right now. Kyle Thomas says, Clough averaged 5.2 points a game, 3.8 rebounds a game in their last 5, 22 minutes per game. If he's not rebounding, what's the purpose of having him out there instead of Benter or Murphy? Another fair question. So this is a lot like what Clough's doing right there. That's very good statistical, bringing that, statistical backing for an opinion. It's good stuff, okay? It's a lot like what Fletch was doing before he broke out of his slump, right? I think you say we keep him in there because he's still the team's best rebounder. That said, TKR, he looked in this game and in the Maryland game at times like the TKR back in the Baha Mar championship. A guy that's absolutely ferocious attacking the glass, right? So I think that's the reason you say, if we remove him from the lineup, what's next? You have to have a guy like Benner playing way up, right? And then you have to have TKR playing in the 5, which he said is nearly impossible for him to play defense and offense effectively because he's getting beaten on so much. So I understand what you're saying. I also think so much of the game is matchup based, and it's based on other things. If the team's not hitting threes, they can keep it packed in, right? Today, I think a couple of those threes would loosen everything up in the lane, and they didn't come. So, yeah, it's good question though. Good question. Metal Scholar says, I'm not sweating our play right now. The old adage of Katie and Knight were true, but about winning the Big Ten championship being the best indicator of national championship caliber, then Purdue would already have more national championships than all other Big Ten teams. All is not lost. I agree, all is not lost. Another great Katie adage that should get brought up all the time, should always be thought of. It's not who you play, it's when you play them, right? When you play a team and they're completely dialed in and motivated, it's tough. It's tough to beat them. Conversely, when teams are playing Purdue right now and Purdue does not have their feet, at minimum they are shaky, they are wobbly, right? This is an easier out for these teams. Guess what? The schedule is brutal now. So enough messing around, can they pull themselves out of the spin? Because this could get, Nebraska is a tough place to play, and they are really good. It's always a tough place to play, and this year that team is exceptional, and they're old, and they've got shooters. So we'll see. All about matchups and motivation, I guess, at this point. Doug Lindauer says, Doug Lindauer. So it's not Linda. There you go. That's a good clear. Doug Lindauer. Thank you for clarifying. Look at that. Phonetics. Why did I come away from this game feeling like we lost? Smith with 6 turnovers. And by the way, where's the team who had the number 1 rated offense in Kit Palm? We need to get that team back. That's that last part, the Ken Palm offense. It's funny because if you go way back to the offseason, Painter talked about the goal was to be the number 1 rated offense for the entire season. And you watch this offense now and you're like, they're not close to the number 1 rated offense in America right now. They're not playing that way at all. And their stats from earlier in the season are booing them again. So, yeah, it's tough. That's the tough thing. You can't even squint your eyes and see this Purdue team and say, that's a really good offense. It's tough. I don't know, because the funny thing is you got the air earlier with Smith and company. He wasn't the only person, but when they are motivated, when they are lit up, this team is tough. Well, now the switch is on. You have to go. If you don't, you get blown out in Nebraska, right? But I would argue they should have been motivated when they went to Assembly Hall. They were coming off 2 losses, right? I think that's right. I think that was the 3rd loss in the row. And they weren't. They were not ready. They did not look like they were ready to play hard, to bust their ass. So Purdue's legacy as a program is teams that have a chip on their shoulder, play really hard, sacrifice themselves. And for those 3 games, they weren't doing that. I don't think that was the problem today. Again, I'll say that. In person, it looked like a team that they had some guys that were busting their ass today. I don't think in Assembly Hall they had almost anybody who was doing that. So Yeah, good point by Matt Keller. The Michigan State Illinois game is really, really good right now. So you should tune over to that. And I'm going to sign off in a second. Kyle Thomas says, um, was looking at Evan Maya's the stat guy. Best 3-man lineups are our 4 best 3-man groups have Benter on the court. We're statistically best with Benter, Cox, and Lawyer. 2 of those 4 have Clough, and none include TKR. I would, and you guys know my feelings on this already. I just think a guy like Benter, his attitude, the fact that he does difficult things, that the fact that he'll put himself in front of people, take charges, get beaten up. He's playing against bigger guys, and he doesn't back down from them. That attitude is needed on every team. I would play him all the time. I'd find a spot for him right now. If I'm going to boil everything down to its essence, that's a big one for me, because that's Purdue type basketball. They need it. So I agree, Kyle. No, it's okay. No need to apologize. So that said more Benner and actually favored Clough over TKR. Yeah, okay. So the stats favored Clough over TKR. I'm not gonna put my full opinion out of what I see right now, because it's not positive with the body language and a lot of things. Because I don't know if it does me any good to guess. I don't know if it does any of us any good to guess. If the season comes to an end early and we're all disappointed by it, we can talk then a little more frank. It's not that I'm gonna jinx anything. It's just I don't know if it does any good to guess. That's the big thing for me. So, yeah. Hey, Greg Manis says the fact that Benner had figured out the new charge rule and can generate takeaways is huge. Could come up big in the next 5 games. Absolutely has to. Right? Yeah. Kyle Thomas, great point, says, I know basketball isn't played on the computer. Still trust TKR more than Clough. Yeah, that's the funny thing about deep analytics period. Sometimes they tell a story that isn't all there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off, and Nita Beaver says, thanks for have a good one, B Dowd. Hope we all feel better on Tuesday. We will if they can find a way to put it together. But I'm going to let you guys go to finish watching the Michigan State-Illinois game. It's a 1-point game right now with just minutes left. A minute 30 left in that game. So go over there, tune in, watch that. God bless you. Purdue is 19-4. Talk to you soon. See ya.